Good evening, Avram.
Hey, oh, really glad to be back.
Agreed. Sorry, I'm reporting some messages on YouTube right now. Okay. Oh. Okay, real quick. Let me configure this to you. Oh, what? This is going to be one of those nights. I definitely I just changed me to you.
Uh-huh.
Oh. All right. So, what we
What did we
doing
talk
tonight?
about last time? What did we talk about last time?
Uh, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I think.
Okay, good. Did we talk about USB hubs at any time?
USB hubs? I don't think so.
It- did we talk about US? We talked about the enclosures at one time, though, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I have behind me a bag. It's the bag of hubs, where the hubs are all behind me. I did all of the hub work like right after our last. I published it right after our last show.
Yeah.
So I now have a lot I can say about it. So we can talk about that a little bit. And not ready for this week, but this will be real cool for maybe next week. I'll have it in a condition. I can sneak peek you my new toy, which is this watch, which is a. Have you seen it before? This
Nope.
is. It's not like a brand new product. I just got it off of Adafruit. It is called an M5 Stack C Plus. It is like an IoT device thing, but you can like put it on a watch. It comes on a watch band, and you can program it in like a variety of programming languages, and you can get different like add-on hats for it. So you can like pop on. It's got like pins here, and you can pop on a hat. So you can. They have like one that's a joystick, and one that's a speaker, and one that's like a air quality detector, and
Sure.
like all kinds of cool stuff.
Huh.
Um, so they have, and it's was $30, like Wi-Fi, and has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth
Oh,
built in,
wow.
and you can program it from a web. You can program it from a web interface. Um, Although I was just looking at their sample games for it that are, I think they're Arduino sketches. They're .ino files, so I guess we'll find out. Um, so that's kind of neat for like future time, but we can talk about a little bit about USB hubs, and yeah, uh, wish I had something more super exciting at the moment, but and you should all buy the Dell monitor that's on sale at Best Buy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you should all buy the Dell S3222 DGM, which is an epic low price. But anyway, other than that, all is it's still, yes, it's still $249. So normally this is $350 or $400. So
Okay. That's a
so
huge discount.
yeah, so it's a good deal.
Cool.
So yeah, we can talk about that.
All right. So we're going to be trying something tonight. We are currently streaming on Facebook and Twitter. If you are watching us on Facebook and Twitter, welcome. you're going to get cut off when we get into topics. We're going to treat this like TikTok. We're going to go over to YouTube and Twitch like we always are. We're going to give this a shot. Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens. What's the thing that I need? I'm glad I'm saying this out loud because it helps to have the tool running to be able to do things. I don't know if you find that to be as important as I do, but here we are. Okay.
Yes.
If I do anything weird tonight, I want everybody apologize right up front. I had a thing done with my ears this morning, and my brain's a little off. So hopefully I will.
I'm sorry to hear it.
Nah, it wasn't a big deal, but it's definitely strange, and my equilibrium is still not quite right. So it'll be fine. All right. Also, I got a new Stream Deck.
Ooh.
I got the 32. So, I mean, it's a massive upgrade from the 6, which I have my hand on right now, off screen, and now I have my hand on the 32.
So I want to know what you're doing with the 32 buttons.
So, I started configuring it at about 7. We'll do this before we get into the show. So this is a live-only conversation. So I started configuring it before the show. So the bottom row is the starting soon graphic, and then the F5 Live opening, the gadgets bumper, the Piltch bumper, the gaming bumper, the internet bumper, the media bumper. I've got a cut and a swap. I've got my split screen, which we're in now, and then of course, I got to configure that. See, this is one of those days. I've got the full screen for you during the Piltch point. Yeah, I've got the cut and swap up at the top. I've got a button for go live and record. That's what I've got so far. So it's about half done. But with the sale that was on Tuesday, I think, the 32 was basically the same price as the one right below it. So it made sense to grab the 32. And I did. And we're going to see how that works. My goal is to do the whole show without touching the keyboard. I can't hear you. Did I mute you, or you muted yourself?
No. Sorry, I muted yourself. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to hear if it actually panned out.
I have physically pushed my keyboard into the desk. I can't see any of the keys. So if everything goes right, this entire show will be done without touching the keyboard, which is never the case during this thing. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping. So, all right, I'm going to switch that. I'm going to hit, see, and this is the fun thing. I can hit record and see if it actually does. It's starting to record. There it is. All right. And what is that? Oh, it stopped. Okay. All right, here we go. This week, Apple's in the crosshairs. Smash is canceling its tour. LastPass is sharing your secrets, and DC is keeping some of its own. It's Sunday, December 4th, 2022, and this is episode 638 of F5 Live Refreshing Technology, a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat, through a podcatcher like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, TuneIn, or a myriad of other options. Through our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Twitch, or YouTube, where you can join the community and get ad-free versions of F5 Live and the Piltch Point, or on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for being part of our day. There are two ways that you can do that. The first is Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us in the studio, give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. If you're not able to join us live, that's okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, The Piltch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, and a whole lot more. And of course, you'll find all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. All right. Hello, Avram. It's good to be back.
It is really, I am so happy to be back. This is a normalcy that, and, you know, with you and our audience, I'm just so, you know, I'm really, really happy to be here. I had a very long few, you know, very long couple of weeks, and then I took a couple, and then I just was so spent physically and mentally that I didn't, like, I took a few days off, and I actually hadn't turned on my computer for like 4 days until now. So,
Okay.
so I'm like, you know, I'm glad to be turning it on for a good cause, a good reason. So it's cool. I haven't even experimented with my main purchase of Black Friday, which is I got a new monitor, which I haven't taken out yet.
Okay.
Well, actually, I got two new monitors. Right before Black Friday, a used monitor that I had bought on eBay and arrived. Oop. All of a sudden you're quiet. Okay. Bought on eBay, arrived. It is a Lenovo P27U10, a 27-inch 4K monitor that's like for like color quality, you know, like creative professionals. It's got like a 99% Adobe. It's rated for 99% Adobe. And, you know, in its day, this monitor, which came out like 2019, was like a $600 monitor, but somebody was selling them for $200. I should have bought more than one, but I bought one and then they didn't have any more.
Oh.
But the color, you know, well, they only had one left by the time I bought it, but at one point they had 5. And, you know, I was very skeptical, you know, this is of note to the audience, right? I was very skeptical of buying a used monitor. I was
Sure.
like, oh, who knows what you're getting? I don't normally buy used stuff. And, you know, but monitors tend to last forever. Like I have 2 monitors up here that I'm replacing that I've had for 10 years,
Right,
and use every day.
So and we talked last week. I got 4 out in Mission Control that are older than that.
Right. So, you know, I bought it from this place that like pulls the monitors from like offices or whatever that I guess don't need them anymore. So I bought it from them and I got it, and it's
probably the end of leases.
Maybe. Anyway,
I bought a laptop that way one time. My first personal laptop I purchased that way.
So it was $200 with free shipping, and looks fantastic. It looks much better than the other Lenovo monitors that I have next to it, which are L28U10s. I'm sure everybody's familiar with all these numbers, but those are like regular 20. This is a 27-inch, that's a 28-inch, but it's pretty much the same size, and that they look about identical next to each other. But the picture quality on the new 27-inch one, new to me 27-inch one, the colors are just so much richer. It's so nice. But then I realized, okay, I have to replace 2 monitors, not just one. So I bought a Dell monitor that's supposed to have fantastic colors, which is a ultra sharp U2720QM, and that's normally like a $550 monitor, but it was on sale for $350 for Black Friday. So that came, and I haven't taken it out yet. When I do, I'm going to do kind of a taste test, I guess, and I'm going to put the best Lenovo, the good Lenovo monitor next to the Dell monitor. I'm gonna see which one looks better. They're both 27 inches that claim to have wide color gamut.
Sure.
I'm I'm not. I'm going to see which one looks better, and whichever one looks better is going to be the one that is my prime monitor that is sitting in my lower left corner here, and then the second, whatever comes in second, will be my like top left monitor, and the other two will be my rights. But I have to say the color on this is so nice. I kind of wish I could replace the two regular 4K monitors I have now with this, because the colors, it's so nice to have such like a nice rich color. Anyway, you really
isn't that the worst? Where you're like, oh, what a great purchase. I would like 3 more of them now, please.
Yeah, I mean, at $200, it's like would be great, but they don't.
Yeah,
you know, if they pull any more of those, I'm getting it. So, so that's
hopefully,
cool. And then,
hopefully you're getting alerts on that seller.
Yeah. Although I don't know if I should, it's kind of wasteful because I'm going to have 4 competent 4K monitors. And then, as I told you before we got on the air, I got this also on ordered on Black Friday or Cyber Monday. This is a IoT watch called an M5 Stick C Plus. It's normally $30, but there was like a 20% off, 10 or 20% off coupon at Adafruit, so it came down to like $26. And I'm gonna probably make this the subject of a future Piltch point, because there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. You can attach different hats to it, which I don't have yet, but I've ordered, which add things like sensors. Like I'm getting one that's a light sensor, and one that's you can get ones that are like a proximity sensor,
Nice.
air quality sensor, thermal camera, I think, or thermal sensor.
Okay.
You can get a joystick for it, which I'm getting. So so it's kind of cool what you could potentially do with it. I'm gonna try and figure out. You can also like write or install games on it, but we'll see. It's really meant to be like for developers to develop, like, I don't know, some kind of IoT thing, but it comes on a watch band. So, and it has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And you can program it via either Arduino language, MicroPython, or there's this like block-based UI they have that's good for kids, and you can program it directly through a website. So as long as it's connected to Wi-Fi, you don't even need to plug it into your computer to program.
Okay. Nice. That's cool. I also am experimenting with a Cyber Monday purchase during the show. If you were here before we got started, you probably know I have a new Stream Deck under here, and my goal tonight is to do the show without touching the keyboard. We'll see if that happens. I'm a little concerned about it, but hopefully everything will go according to plan. I'm really excited about this. I've wanted one for a while, and the deal that they were running this week was just comical. So that definitely meant it was time. It was time to finally do it. So anyway, we've got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about tonight. So let's get down to it. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, tablet, Xbox, games, or a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. Remember, current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% off almost everything. To browse the products and learn more about the discounts, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. All right. This week, an interesting Twitter thread started a conversation that was not the initial purpose of the thread, or maybe not a thread, but certainly a series of tweets that weren't directly related. The conversation went a different direction, and a direction that I find way more interesting than the original set of tweets. Elon Musk was complaining that there might be a possibility that Apple was going to remove Twitter from the App Store. And then he also made a comment that Twitter Blue would not be returning as an option until the 30% Apple tax was that there was a way to get around it. The first part, I'm not nearly as interested in. Musk went to Apple HQ, hung out with Tim Cook. They had a conversation. It was a misunderstanding. Great. Whatever. Moving on. Now, the other part about Twitter Blue is the thing that got interesting. Because basically he said 30% is too much. Won't do it. If there's a problem, maybe I'll make a phone. And then whatever. Then the responses were what I thought was interesting, because other companies joined in to the conversation. For example, we had Spotify. The CEO of Spotify joined in and essentially bumped a link to a blog post that was written over 4 years ago about this exact topic. Epic, very smart, kept their mouth shut. Because unlike some other people this week, they listened to their lawyers. So, shh. However, Coinbase also made a comment because they just had an update to their app rejected by Apple. Already in Google Play. You can already use the new stuff over there. But on iOS, Apple is requiring them to remove the ability to send NFTs from wallet to wallet on iOS. Why, you may ask? Because that's a weird thing. Well, because there's a gas fee involved in transferring an NFT from wallet to wallet. That fee is paid directly through the walleting system. And Apple doesn't like that. They have demanded that Coinbase make a technical change that blockchain does not allow, or they can't have this feature on their app. And they and several other companies were kind of poking it at Musk, saying, so about that phone. Definitely an interesting turn of events, right? That wasn't what I was expecting. 'Cause, Musk goes on these tweet storms. He gets onto a topic. He puts out 5, 6, 8, 10 tweets about a topic, and then he goes quiet for a while. And usually people are like, okay, shh. And they just, but this one, like, got corporations riled up, which I think is interesting, and it brings back a topic that we've talked about a number of times, and one that he's never had to deal with in the past. And as soon as he does, he's like, no, this isn't going to work. What?
Yeah, I mean, look, Musk's been doing a lot of attention seeking.
Always. His whole career.
The whole thing, you could argue, is a desperate cry for attention.
Sure.
That he didn't need, because this whole Twitter premise does not make any business sense for him to buy, and does not make any business sense in the way in which he has run it since he took over. So there's no, of course, we should also point out that just because people are business people and have a lot of money does not mean that they operate in a logical and rational way.
Very true.
And I'm sure that Musk is not the only person or the only business that acts that way. But The but nevertheless, like, I mean, okay, so he wants to. This is another way for him to get attention for himself.
Sure.
He's trying to get some kind of a better deal for himself, and he's also trying to head off. Like, I don't know if Apple ever threatened them or not with being removed from the App Store, but they do have some things going on there that could get them removed.
Tim Cook said that was never on the table. It was a misunderstanding, and when Elon Musk walked away, he tweeted that he understood the miscommunication, and that's all that it was. So, that's, for somebody like Musk, that's a pretty big admission.
Yeah, I mean, my sense of it is that, I mean, maybe he's trying to head Apple off at the pass here in a PR push, because Twitter does not, I mean, please correct me, but doesn't Apple have some rules regarding moderation of content or regarding hate speech or things like that?
So, Apple has some interesting rules for sure. User-generated content, those rules get a little murky, though. So, it was what Verizon tried to use to justify the changes to Tumblr, which essentially never fully went into effect. And Tumblr's still there and still, in the top list of apps. And the stuff that happens on Tumblr is sometimes absolutely bonkers. So when it comes to user-generated content, their rules get a little murky, and it comes down to subjection a little bit.
So, I mean, look, obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if Apple has a different set of rules for Twitter than it has for
even Tumblr.
I don't know for a smaller social network. So,
what's the new one that just became really popular? Hive.
Is that Press? Hive. What, isn't there another one called Press?
Yeah, and of course Mastodon, but that's been around forever. Just nobody cared until recently.
I haven't tried these yet. I really got to try them. But
so Hive you may not be able to try. I don't know. Oh, no.
There's a wait list, right?
No. So a security researcher discovered a huge hole in their API, and they shut the service down while they fixed it. In fairness, Hive is built and maintained by 2 people. So that's why they just took it down. They fixed it apparently over just the last couple days, and they've got it all back up and running. So good on them.
See, that's the thing is, though, speaking from experience here, a piece of whatever service that's run by 2 people is probably run much more efficiently than one that's run with hundreds or thousands of engineers, because it's probably just like, oh, there's a bug. Okay, I'll just fix it.
I know where it is.
You got to go through a bureaucracy, right? Yeah.
However, in fairness, some of that bureaucracy is in response to AT&T thinking the exact same thing and managing to knock out long distance calls to like 37,000 customers. So, I don't know.
So anyway, the point being that, like, it would be quite a controversial move that Apple would not want to get involved in.
To take down a top 10 app.
Yeah, to take down Twitter. That would be a really big statement. On the other hand, recall that, I don't know if it was this week or last week, but sometime in the last 2 weeks or so, Musk let back on a whole bunch of people who were banned for
60,000
hate
accounts.
speech. So that is, that it may not be something that Apple likes to see.
It's true, especially like when you look at some of the people. Now, some of them totally agree. Probably should be gone. Some of them, though, Jordan Peterson, he's an oddball, but I don't know that he's hateful.
I mean, yeah, I don't have the list of who they let on or whatever, but they definitely let on some people who were, really hate mongers. Now and had been kicked off for a reason. And I should point out that Musk has banned a whole bunch of people from Twitter because they said things about him that he did not like. So this is not exactly.
So to the best of my knowledge, not a single ban has been put in place, but there have been suspensions. Since he took over, I don't believe anybody has been banned, but there have been a lot of suspensions.
What about Kathy Griffin? Wasn't she banned?
Nope, she's back.
Oh, she's back? Okay.
Yeah, I think she had a 6-day suspension or something like that. It may not even been that long. Right. But yeah, no, she's back.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know all of the...
One of the problems with Twitter, and I've heard a lot of people who have gone through suspensions on Twitter complain about this. There is no visual differentiation between a suspension and a ban. And there's no direct way for the person receiving it to know exactly what it is. And sometimes they don't even tell you how long it's going to be for.
So yeah, I mean, maybe I heard somebody was banned and they weren't actually totally banned, but
because they didn't know. Yeah. Maybe there was no number in the email that came to them. They're like, "Oh, I guess I've been banned," and it turns out no, it was a 6-day suspension or whatever. Because apparently their moderation tools are bad.
Yeah. Well, and then obviously there was a lot of news this week about do we call him Ye or do we call him Kanye?
It's actually Ye.
Oh, Ye. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ye.
Yeah.
Do we call him Ye? Okay.
You can call him whatever you want.
Okay. Ye's, anti-Semitic posts. I mean, yeah. And he was let back on after having already done a bunch of posts like that. So, I mean, putting aside what I think of those posts and who should be banned, like Apple doesn't like it. So I can see that he's trying to create, some pressure on political pressure or whatever media pressure on Apple not to take action against Twitter because they don't want Apple is like as far as I can see, Apple's a very quintessential logical corporation. They do not want to offend anyone. Like Apple wants to make money. Apple does not have.
They don't want to offend the people who will act on the offense.
Oh, okay. I mean, my sense is they don't want to be seen as taking much of a political position. They don't want to be seen as being for or against anything that's controversial. They just want to make what's controversial is how they want to make money and how they want to have a walled garden and control things. But
what is that? Yeah.
As far they don't want to alienate consumers, right? And so if Musk is going to turn it into a cause, if Twitter is banned, then they don't want to ban Twitter because they don't want that kind of publicity.
True. Yeah, that's for sure, because not everybody responds commercially to an offense, right? So those are the people that they're not all that worried about. They're worried about people who will respond to being offended by something. And they know that this would be, interestingly, both groups have a percentage right out there that respond real hard commercially to certain things. And they're trying to find that middle ground, I think, so that they don't offend. Ideally, not nobody, but at the very least, not enough people that it will change any kind of sales. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're just in business to make money. Whatever,
yeah,
Tim Cook thinks in his, private time or whatever, in his private life, he wants Apple to just be like, okay, Apple's. I don't want to do anything that would interfere with us selling product. And making and having the least amount of expenses and having the most amount of profit.
right, yeah.
So
They'll
that's
they'll make statements. They'll take stands on things, but only when they don't think it's going to negatively affect the bottom line. That's the key for them. It's always about the bottom line. Everything they do is always about the bottom line. If they make a decision to do something, they either very strongly believe or know for a fact that it will have a neutral or positive effect.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas what Musk did is not gonna have a positive effect on the bottom line. Inviting back the guy who runs the Daily Stormer website to Twitter is not a way to court the advertisers that Twitter needs. Like, there's frankly, if you were an advertiser, why would you advertise on Twitter? What like, it was bad enough before Musk took over because it's user generated advertisers don't like user generated content when it's moderated.
True.
It's too unpredictable. It's not brand safe enough. So now you're saying we're really not brand safe, and our brand is not and our whole brand is not brand safe anymore because the CEO is putting up like kind of some like somewhat pornographic pictures himself on his Twitter feed. So like it's hard for me to believe that an advertiser, unless they feel like they owe Musk is a personal friend or owe him something personally, or doing business with one of his other businesses and therefore want to stay on his good side, would want to advertise there. Because first of all, in a challenging economy, marketing dollars are the first thing to go.
Absolutely.
And so this is not a good time to annoy advertisers. Second of all, why to advertise? Like, they don't need Twitter. There's a million places that you could advertise that you can get just as targeted, if not more targeted, stuff, placements. So you could use Google. You could use a bunch of ad networks. And why would you be on Twitter?
And we know that Facebook, for example, takes down ISIS material, and Twitter never has.
So I don't see how, like, there's so many other places that you could advertise, and the cost of ads is probably going down right now. So it's really hard for me to believe that, like, why would they bother? Like, why would even one advertiser bother with this? It's not worth it.
Yeah, agreed. Last question. Do you think if things go sideways with Apple, he launches a phone?
I think he would tease people that he's going to launch a phone. I think it's theoretically possible.
And use that as some sort of leverage to keep it from going sideways with Apple.
I mean, he doesn't know a lot about phones. I don't think that a Musk phone or whatever, an Elon phone is going to do well. Theoretically, he could get someone to create a phone based on open source software or based on Android or whatever. I mean, and I'm sure that he would not start his own phone factory. He would probably just pay an ODM to make it for him.
Right, to white label something.
So sure he could do that. Facebook had a phone. Remember Facebook had a phone for a little while? It was actually HTC, right?
Yeah. But it had a physical Facebook button on it.
It did, yeah. There you go. So, like, okay. whatever. Yeah, I don't think Apple or Google or Samsung or even OnePlus are quaking in their boots over the idea that Elon Musk might try to get into the phone business.
Yeah. Totally agreed. All right, Avram, what have you got for us this week?
So let's talk hubs. You got to have a USB hub. Maybe you got to have more than one USB hub. Let's see what I have in my bag. Oh, USB hubs here. Well,
I feel like this is going to be a Mary Poppins thing.
Yeah, okay. So do I have all of my USB hubs in this bag? No. But we'll get to it. So on Tom's Hardware, we have a list of the best USB hubs right now, and I sure invite you to go check it out. And everybody needs a USB hub. The question is, what kind of USB hub do you need? And that really depends on the first question really is, where are you using it? Is it for your desk where it's going to be set up permanently, or is it going in your bag to use with your laptop on the go? If it's something that's for your desk, then you want a hub that has external power and lots of ports, and ideally you want one that has on and off switches. So here's one. This is an Atola hub that has on-off switches for each port, and then a charging.
I have that hub on my desk.
The Atola?
Uh-huh.
Now, I want to tell you that our favorite choice is somewhere out of my reach, I think, and that is the Sabrent 10-port hub, which is just like this. This one's like $21, and the Sabrent one's like $40. But the Sabrent hubs just have a lot nicer build quality, like with the buttons. So this is nice and cheap. The Atola one is like $21, and for that you get seven USB 3 ports and a single charging port. And each port has an on-off switch, but these on-off switches aren't like nice and springy like the ones on the Sabrent. You got to kind of hold them down for a second to turn them on and off, so they're not as, I don't know, physically not as nice, but nice and cheap. Most USB hubs these days are USB 3 or maybe labeled as 3.1 or 3.2, but they're usually 5 gigabit ports, and usually mostly type A ports too. But the beauty of having on-off switches for your ports is it makes a few different tasks much, much easier. One of them is changing audio devices. So I have my headphones on. I have something like this for my desktop. Mine is a Sabrent 7-port. And if you have, your speaker, your USB speaker on one and your USB headset on another, you just turn one off and turn one on, and you've changed your audio device rather than going into Windows to try to change your default audio device. The other thing that it's really, really good for are things, if you work with microcontroller boards like Arduino or Raspberry Pi Pico or something like that, and you need to turn them off and on. Most of those boards don't have on-off or reset switches, but you can just turn the USB port that it's on off and turn it back, or just turn it off and on to reset it. And so I love, and you can, also have things like, oh, you've got a USB drive in here, but you're not using it most of the time. Okay, turn this port off. So I love the on-off switch ports. One thing to keep in mind though is you won't get fantastic charging off of if you're in it for the charging. If you want to say charge your headset, charge your phone, whatever. Um, most of these just regular data ports, even though they're physically capable, I guess, of delivering you about 5 volts and up to maybe maybe 5 volts at like 2.2 or 2.1 amps. They don't actually do it. You usually are getting like a trickle charge. So some of these, like the Atola here, have a dedicated charging port, and that gives you the full, like, what I actually found was it was something like, it would be at like 4.75 with my phone. It would go to 4.75 volts and like, what was it, 2.1 amps or 2.2 amps, something like that. So you get about, even though it says you can get up to 15, I was getting like maybe on my Pixel, maybe 12 or 13 watts of charging, which is, decent charging. So our favorite hub actually is the Sabrent 10 port hub, where 7 of the ports are data and 3 are just for charging. So it's important to keep in mind whether you're actually going to charge stuff off of your hub. Now, if you are on the go, then you want something completely different for your hub. You want something small. You have a laptop that only takes USB Type-C, so you need a hub that has a Type-C connector on it. And you don't need or want one that has its own power source and AC adapter, because that's another plug you got to lug around with you. So here's a fun little cute USB hub. Look at this. Have you ever seen one this small and cute?
No. That's tiny.
So this is by a company called Joy Reckon, and I think it's like $11, something like $11 on Amazon, and it turns one USB 3.8 Type A port on your laptop into 4, and it also has a little RGB light, although you can't control it; just changes colors along the side when it's plugged in. So it's nice and cute. The only thing is, and I haven't like durability tested it by trying to break it, I can totally imagine a situation where when you have this sticking out of your laptop, if you are too aggressive in plugging something in, that you could break it.
100%.
But so because it's a stick, which you don't normally see, most hubs have a wire, and and portable hubs, usually it's a built-in wire, but it's a wire. Now the plus of this is that if you're sitting in a tight spot, like you're sitting in a seat and there are people on either side of you, and you don't want like a USB hub that's like dangling onto the floor, this will give you that. But the other thing is, a lot of times people are buying a USB hub for their laptop because they don't even have a Type A port, so this wouldn't help them at all. Now, what you really want, of course, is something like, you might want something like this. This is both portable and actually for desktop, although I guess it might even be better for desktop. This is another Sabrent. It has 3 Type A ports, and it has a card reader. Sometimes it's nice to have a little extra thing like a card reader in yours. And you can see the USB-C cables built in, and then it's got a magnet on the bottom and a sticker, and you can take the magnet and stick it to your desk permanently, and then when you are at home, you could stick this down to the magnet. It won't flop around your desk. And this is metal, so I really like this one.
And then when you're ready,
for that reason,
when you're ready to
yep.
to go, like to take it with you with a laptop, you can just and go. Awesome. Yeah. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, there's a lot of ones that kind of look like this with the aluminum. This Sabrent one I really like. These all have very memorable names. Like, this one is called I think it's called the Sabrent HBU3CR.
Sure.
Go to our website and find the pictures. Go to Amazon and search. Another one I have in here that's interesting is this one here from U Green. Again, another like Type C, but it's got 4 ports, so good for Mac. That's Type C only, good for a lot of Ultrabooks that only have Type C. What other goodies do I have in here? Here is another for people who have Type A and want more ports. This one, it has on-off switches for the ports, but I don't think it's as useful on a portable hub as it is on a desktop hub that has power. But it does have, and there's switches on this. They're not buttons, so
Okay.
not as cool. Not nearly as cool. Let's see what else is in there. Oh, okay. So this is worth checking out. This one here that I'm getting out of my bag of wonders is an Enatech 10 gigabit one. So everything else I've shown you has been 5 gigabit, right? So if you have a 10 gigabit external drive, like an enclosure that we talked about recently, that operates at 10 or 20 or 40 gigabits, those hubs would only give you up to 5. This is a 10, but it's a little bit of a weird 10 because it is a Type A 10, whereas a lot of things are Type C and 10. This is a Type A 10 gigabits, and it has connectors on it that are all 4 connectors on it that are Type A 10 gigabits. So if you, most laptops actually, their A ports are 5, and if you want 10, then you need to use the C port. You can get this with a C connector built in instead, which might be the more useful choice for a lot of people. But on the back of my desktop, motherboard, I happen to have a 10 gigabit A port as well, and I tested it, and it's definitely good to have 10 over 5 because that's like doubles. If you've got an external drive, you can go from like a transfer rate that's like 250 or 300 megabytes per second to like 500. So it really ups your transfer rate. It's definitely a big plus to go up to that if you're doing a lot with, say, external SSDs. Another one here, this is just weird, but I thought I would show it. This is another Joy Reckon. It is just a triangle, like a pyramid shape with a V on it, and the V lights up in RGB colors. It also has this USB-C port on the back, which I have no idea what it does because it actually is not documented and doesn't seem to do anything. Although if you put power into it, it will light up. But maybe it can't be a power pass through because this is Type A and you don't pass power to Type A. So I really, maybe you could give it bus power that way. I don't know. It doesn't. The instructions don't even mention it. But it's.
I do like the idea that at the top there's an illuminated V, even though there's no V anywhere in the company's name.
Yes, I don't know why that is, but if I unplugged something else here, I could probably show you that it changes colors. Afraid to unplug the wrong thing, but let's see. I could
hopefully not the webcam.
Yeah, that's okay. So maybe now you can see it's very faint kind of, and if you hit this button, it'll change. There you go. It's for someone who's a really big fan of the TV miniseries V. If you liked V and V the Final Battle and V the TV show, or even the reboot of V that was really not good, then this is the USB hub for you.
V for Vendetta?
Yes, if you like V for Vendetta, exactly, yeah.
This is going to be popular among Anonymous.
Yeah, there you go. except they probably like things a little bit higher quality. So, but anyway, all joking aside, there we've got a list of USB hubs, and I think the thing to keep in mind is if you are if you're using it on your desk, then especially with a device that has Type a laptop that has Type A ports, or a desktop that has even better desktop that has Type A ports, because you're not moving anywhere, you want a nice big hub with on-off switches for each port. If you're using it for your laptop on the go, you want something that has a port that you can use. Maybe if your laptop only has Type C, obviously you want Type C port, and you want something that is, light, easy to carry, but but good quality. So, depending on whether you want to get one that's, nice materials like metal, or has extra things built in, like this card reader. Really interesting one, which I don't. Oh, one more thing, two more things. Here I have one that is made for an iPad. So this is an Anker one that's made specifically for an iPad, and it has the reason. I mean, theoretically, you could use it on a laptop too. But why it's made for an iPad is it's got this kind of chin on it that makes it really easy to plug into one of the USB-C iPads. And then you can, and it also has other things on the back. So it only has one Type A port, but it has a HDMI out, card reader, 3.5 audio, and then a power pass-through so that you can keep charging while you use it. So, that could be useful if you've got one of the iPads that has Type C. And then somewhere around here, which I don't think is in the bag at my feet, so I'll just tell you what it is. I have an Anker, a hub by Anker, which has an SSD built into it. It has a 256 gigabyte SSD built into it. So that's kind of wild. I find it, it's called the Anker Power Expand 4-in-1 USB-C hub. And it's a very unassuming looking hub with just a couple of Type A ports and the HDMI out.
And the name kind of downplays it.
Yes, Power Expand. Like, what do you mean? Well, it happens to have a 256 gigabyte SSD built in that operates pretty quickly. So, it could be your backup drive too. So, you can't even tell from looking at it though. If I were them, I would have, played it up in the design a little bit.
Sure.
Anyway, so those are the USB hubs to consider. If you can get a USB hub for under $10, you can get the Power Expand for close to $100 because it's got the SSD inside. But I strongly recommend that folks, especially if you're getting a gift certificate for the holidays, or you're thinking about buying somebody else a gift for the holidays, like a really nice USB hub could be a really good gift for someone.
Nice. Yeah. Especially for people who take a computer around a lot, like myself. I've got a couple of nice ones out in mission control at the desktops, but my portable one is, what's the word? Right, old.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of opportunity to upgrade somebody there and get them something nice. I mean, I'd really like to see. I still haven't seen like the Dream Hub, which would have a combination of A and C outputs and on-off switches for all of them, and be operating at like 10 or 20 gig, 10 or 20 or even USB 4 speeds. That would be ideal. A lot of that stuff though, now if you want like USB 4, or Thunderbolt, you're usually not using a hub, you're using a dock. Although the line between what is a hub and what is a dock is a very blurry line anyway. I mean, I guess it's a matter of some interpretation.
We definitely saw that one for the iPad.
Yeah, right. It had HDMI out, right? So it depends. We set out when I set out to do this page, I said it's going to be hubs, not docks.
Okay.
But because docks, then we get into testing the video out and all kinds of other features. But yeah, there's also obviously a lot of hubs out there, but those are usually a lot more money too. So.
Very true. Well, as always, Avram, I appreciate the information. I have legitimately been looking for something to replace my my mobile hub that for longtime viewers of the show, there was a point when we were on a different set and there was a TV that was right here and Avram was on it over my shoulder and
like max headroom.
Yeah. And I had to control it via a wired mouse. And that mouse plugged in through this hub. And we haven't done that in years. So, probably since close to the time that you took the second chair. So, it's a pretty old hub. And it wasn't new then. That's why it was sacrificed to that purpose. So definitely been looking for one. So definitely appreciate the information. And as always, Avram, I look forward to what we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround, plus extra features into their headsets so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Plus, they won't break the bank. Learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/exa. If you're a fan of conspiracy theory style stories, have we got one for you here. So, the Smash World Tour, for those who don't know, is a World Tour. It's an international competition of Super Smash Brothers. It is put on by an organization outside of Nintendo. They get the license agreement from Nintendo to be able to put it on, to use the logos and make it an official partner event. There's regionals. It comes together for a final at the end of the year. The winners get bragging rights and a lot of money. This week, the organization announced that the finals, only the finals, because everything else has already happened, that the finals for 2022 and the entire 2023 event had been canceled because of Nintendo. Now, they went on and said a lot of things. Called out Nintendo and another organization, but essentially what they said was, we're canceling the finals and all of 2023 because Nintendo refuses to renew the license, and so too bad, so sad, bye-bye. And then crickets. Kind of everybody involved went a little quiet. A couple days, and Nintendo responded publicly to what was going on. And Nintendo said, not quite. Here's what we've got. They said They said Nintendo's decision was solely based on our assessment of the proposals submitted by the SWT and our evaluation of their unlicensed activities. This decision was not influenced by any external parties, such as Panda Global, which we'll get to in a second. Any partner that we grant a license to has to meet the high standards we require when it comes to the health and safety of our fans. It's also important that a partner adheres to brand and IP guidelines and conducts itself according to professional and organizational best practices. Then something interesting. When we notified the SWT that we would not license their 2022 or 2023 activities, we also let them know verbally that we were not requiring they cancel the 2022 finals event because of the impact it would have on players. Thus, the decision to cancel the SWT 2022 was, and still is, their own choice. Now, couple pieces of information come up here. Why would they cancel an event that was already scheduled, that all of the buildup had already happened, and people had arranged travel, accommodations, all of that was already in place because it's the finals for 2022, and even if you're watching this live, it's December. Not much 2022 left. So everything was already in place. Why would they cancel 2022? Well, you may have noticed that Nintendo mentioned Panda Global. Why for on that? Well, turns out Panda Global is the other big competitor. And Smash World Cup, Smash World Tour, had called them out specifically, having said that this other organization was privately sabotaging the event by going to sponsors and partners and telling them that the event was canceled or was going to be canceled very soon. Why would they say that? Did they know ahead of time before SWT knew? Did they make it up? There's definitely a lot of questions. It's a dirty space, right? The esports world is a pretty dirty space. There's a lot of unpleasantness that happens in it, which is unfortunate because it's supposed to be games, right? And yet here we are with like a weird winding conspiracy theory of an organization undermining. If they did, I would understand why they canceled the finals. Maybe they lost their sponsors, right? What do you think here, Avram? Have you been following this at all? Because it's been a topic of conversation around here.
Not a lot, but obviously I read the story. In fact, it's kind of funny because my son and I were reading this story right as I was putting him to bed. And I was like, look what we're talking about tonight. And he was like, oh, hey, why did they cancel it? If Nintendo said it was okay, why did they cancel it? And I'm still trying to figure that one out. However, this whole thing is seedy, and it kind of makes me think of like George Thorogood, Bad to the Bone, and like there must be a bunch of old men smoking in the pool hall watching the Smash Brothers or whatever
right.
he played. I think that Panda Global might have reasons to say that well, first of all, they've got motive, but they might also say, well, Nintendo told us that they're not going to let SWT do this, so we're telling you to cancel it. I mean, in a way, they kind of pulled the rug out from SWT, because doesn't that mean that SWT can never, like after this, they can't exist anymore, right?
Basically, it's certainly not this event. They might be able to go. The organization might be able to put on other events under other names, but this is certainly over.
But I mean, it sounds like, so what I don't know, and I guess if you want to look at Nintendo's position here charitably, they don't want to they don't want to say why they don't, if there are really lots of legitimate reasons that involve health and safety and unprofessional behavior, they don't want to just sit there and like diss SWT
Sure.
line by line, like, well, this is not safe and this is not professional and all that. On the other hand, by saying all of that stuff without actually backing it up with any facts or data, then they are really impugning the reputation of this organization that runs SWT without providing any evidence. Like, what do they mean by health and safety? It didn't even say they didn't meet it, right? They said any partner that we grant a license to has to meet the high standards we require when it comes to health and safety of our fans.
Right. What does that mean?
I mean,
did they meet it? Did they meet it or not? They have to. Great. Did they? Is that relevant, or are you just flooding the field,
the zone, with things that they had to meet? Right.
Yeah. So, are you just info dumping like what China was doing on Twitter this week, or are you?
It's also important that partner adheres to brand and IP guidelines and conducts itself according to professional and organizational best practices. So if you are trying to read between the lines here, it sounds like, although in a way that where they have plausible deniability, right?
We're not saying
they're saying, we're not saying that you're unprofessional, but we're very strongly implying that you were unprofessional,
or that you're stealing our
unsafe,
or that you're stealing our intellectual property.
Right. I mean, I don't know what the brand and IP.
I'll tell you, knowing Nintendo, their chiefest concern is the brand identity.
Right. Well, I mean, what does that exactly mean in the context of one of these events? Meaning, like, they have signage or something like that.
Maybe,
and the signage might be showing something they don't like,
or displaying the Nintendo logo without them being a partner. Because everything up until now has been unofficial. Nintendo is now licensing their content for competitions, and they're not licensing this one. And
that's actually...
So if they're using a Nintendo logo, or if, I don't know, maybe accidentally, when the game is coming up, the Nintendo logo shows, and they don't have permission to show it, maybe they're going to complain about that. Nintendo and Disney have a lot of similarities when it comes to the weirdnesses behind their brand eccentricities. I don't think Nintendo's ever sued a preschool like Disney did, but I wouldn't put it past them.
So this has actually raised an interesting sort of First Amendment fair use question, because my son asked, and I didn't have a great answer for him, why did they need Nintendo's permission in the first place to run this event? And I said, well, like, I guess it's because they're going to have Nintendo branding all over the place, but on the other hand, and they're making money off of it. But on the other hand, as we've talked about on prior shows, people streaming of content, streaming of a Nintendo game has generally been allowed.
There was a time
why would a competition?
There was a time where they were stepping on it, though.
Right. But I guess the question is, like, under what basis does Nintendo have the right to say no? Why can't I just set up if I set up a bunch of computers next of, I don't know, I guess switches, a bunch of consoles, switches next to each other with a bunch of screens, and then I film people playing on them, and I give somebody a prize? How is that any different than me playing it at home or playing it on Switch?
I do it all the time. At Strike, we have a monthly Smash Brothers event.
So, and why do they need permission?
You know, it's a fair question. I don't know if it has to maybe do with scale or what, because they haven't had it before. That was made clear, right?
Well, you said 2021 they were doing it, right?
Nintendo's decision was solely based on our assessment of the proposals submitted and our evaluation of their unlicensed activities. Which means
Right.
that this was operational without Nintendo's seal of approval. Now, perhaps there's something in the oh, you know what? All right, let's think about this. It's software, right? Video game is software. Software has a user agreement. Maybe the user agreement has something about scale, or I don't know.
I mean, I think like a lot of licensing things, it's really a matter of whether or not you would get caught. Maybe like,
True.
in, in
Which
other
comes
words,
down to
like,
scale.
right. So like, if you, my guess is that if you sent an email to Nintendo or called them or like, hey, I have a tournament that I do in my, with my friends, and I do it in this open space as part of a community, they might be like, well, hey, now you need our permission.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you didn't ask, they probably wouldn't notice or care because it's small potatoes. Now, this place, they're calling themselves Smash World Tour, so the very name of it is, I guess, at least implied intellectual property. I mean, the word Smash World Tour is probably not copyrighted, but Smash, and playing Smash Brothers. I mean,
brand confusion.
I guess
they could argue brand confusion because it sounds official.
The other thing is, if you're somebody like Smash World Tour, I'm going to guess that you don't have a lot of lawyers and a lot of money for lawyers. So
potentially,
maybe the threat of litigation is more than enough because you don't
try and come into compliance.
You don't want to have to fight Nintendo in court. So I guess the threat
they are brutal litigators.
I'm sure, and I'm also sure that a small company, I don't know how big they are, but I'm sure they're not that big. Like a small organization cannot afford. I mean, lawyers are very expensive. You'd need an army of lawyers to fight such a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the type of thing that like you would get, like the Electronic Frontier Foundation or somebody trying to support you with.
That's interesting.
I don't know that I don't know, like if it's a major digital rights issue. But to the something that we talked about, to the thing we talked about previously about like licensing, like whether or not you actually have the right to stream your gameplay, like I don't think that that's actually been formally established, right? It's just that most game publishers have made it clear that they don't want to try and sue streamers,
right?
Because this is not good for them,
right? And people streaming their games is good for them,
right? But they didn't say that that's an absolute right. They're just choosing not to enforce it there.
Because Nintendo essentially did try to enforce it, and they tried to enforce it via Twitch, and Twitch complied. I think post the Amazon purchase, so Amazon complied.
Right. Well, they don't want to, want the lawsuit, I guess. So yeah. I mean, I think it's probably that they don't want the lawsuit. Why did they cancel the final event that they were allowed to do? I mean, maybe the sponsors had all pulled out. I mean,
either because it's now known and not licensed, which is totally possible, or because Panda Global, which from what I understand, pure speculation, not trying to throw anybody under the bus here, but from what I understand, they are also a ruthless organization and are known for being underhanded. I know very little about them. I'm going based entirely on reports that I've seen online and conversations that have happened around here.
I mean, so yeah, I feel bad for the folks at the SWT. I mean, the other thing is I don't like we let them know verbally.
Yeah.
If you tell me something's okay verbally, but I don't have it in writing, and you could sue me,
Or at least on video.
I'm not. Yeah, like I don't know if that, like if I were trying to avoid litigation, if I would take that as,
Yeah.
I would feel comfortable with
Yeah.
that.
The closest I'm doing is you're holding up a newspaper with today's date and you're saying it into a video. That's the only way it's even possible. And then today you could claim deep fake anyway. So no.
Yeah, it's so if you
I
say,
might
oh
want
yeah,
to take a picture of you signing the thing when you put it in writing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's so yeah. If you don't have, if we just tell you, I mean, because it didn't say that they had their permission. Well, all they said is that we're not going to enforce our rights. We're not going to sue you for this time. But you know, you never know. So it definitely, I can't blame the SWT for canceling under those circumstances.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate for everybody who has money out for this event already. It's unfortunate for people who have enjoyed being part of this. There are people who do not want to participate in the, what do they call it, the Panda Cup? Weird naming from this other organization. But maybe that's a difference, right? SWT has the word Smash in it, and Panda never mentions it in their branding. Yeah, that could be a differentiator. It may not be. There are these levels where you could find everything completely above board, or there's these levels of conspiracy theory all underneath, and all of them seem plausible. So that makes the story weird and really interesting. My suspicion is that Panda at some point is going to say something because their brand has been impugned throughout this, both by SWT and through lots of people on YouTube for sure. The brand has been hit pretty hard. So I imagine they're going to respond to this, and I look forward to that, and I will keep an eye out for it. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, plus it actively blocks threats like worms, rogues, dialers, trojans, spyware, and a whole lot more. It allows you to use your computer and mobile devices with confidence and peace of mind. To learn more and to get a special price, you can go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. Speaking of tech safety, LastPass had some sort of a incident that was revealed this week. It is the second or third such incident in 2022. It has been quite an active year for them. In the past, the problems have been surface level, access to technical but not data levels of the system. Particularly, the last one was access to the source code for the software into their development environment. This time, however, what became available may have been customer data. Now, LastPass is kind of known for not opening up entirely about what's going on, and that seems to be the case here. They're being very vague in their wording on what customer data may have been accessed. And in fact, they don't go into any specifics on what might have been accessed. And instead, what we find out is that the incident began in August of this year, 2022, and involves the access of data through a third-party cloud storage service attached to LastPass. So in 2020, they announced that their data storage was going to be exclusive to AWS. So I think we can make the assumption that it was AWS, and they're trying not to put their name out there. Because it's certainly not Amazon's fault that LastPass had data available in some way, shape, or form. My concern, Avram, is that they're not saying what was accessed. Now, that could mean that the data that was accessed is trivial, or it could mean that it's the password, the synced password directory. Who knows? What do you think?
Do they have a legal responsibility in any way
It's a fair
to
question.
disclose?
It's a fair question, and I don't know the answer to that question. I did some research earlier trying to look up what their responsibility is. I couldn't find a whole lot for here in the U.S. In the EU, obviously, there's all kinds of hard and fast rules on disclosures. So it's possible that this is one of those, and they've worded it wrong, right? That this is one of those situations where they're like, we're still trying to figure out what was touched. And they didn't say those words. I'm hoping that's what it is. I'm hoping that they just discovered the thing. It's been going on for a couple of months, and what they're doing now is doing a forensic audit to see what data was touched and what might be vulnerable. That's what I'm hoping. And that they just weren't great about saying it.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope so. But even there, that's not great because if they don't know what was touched, that still means that it could be, you have to assume the worst.
Exactly.
So is this another, first of all, this isn't the first time this has happened to them.
Right.
Second of all, should you trust your password manager? I don't know.
Right. I have
They're
always been
supposed to be
super
encrypted, right?
I've always been super weary of password managers, personally. So, I don't let my phone store anything. First thing I do on my browser is I turn off. You don't even ask me about saving stuff. Because I've always been weary of this. And now with the synced password thing, that doesn't seem better to me. Even if it is encrypted, the last breach accessed the development environment. They could have the key.
Yeah, I don't know what a good, is it better to have something where you have the key that's like local and not cloud, like KeyPass or something like that? I don't know.
Potentially. If it's not like a universal key, at least that's better, right? If the algorithm for generating the key is discovered and there's some reverse engineering that can be done on it, then the keys can be discovered. But encryption is not infallible. It's made by people. So it's not infallible. I don't know.
I guess we'll find out. But if you're on LastPass, change your stuff, which could be really annoying because could be a lot of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Because I know it's really popular with older people who have trouble remembering their passwords, and they use LastPass in particular. It's really popular for for them, because it'll generate and then hold and all of that. They don't have to worry about anything. But then now we get into a situation where, on top of it all, if you let it generate the password, you may not know it. That's not better.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a concern. Obviously, if you're using it, our recommendation is update your credentials. Make sure, and this is always the case, if two-factor authentication is an option, use it. It's at least like putting a padlock on your front door. Sure, if you kick hard enough, you can knock it down. But at least it's one more barrier to entry. So add two-factor authentication, update your credentials, and hold off on updating that information into LastPass until we know. Possibly consider an offline key or a private key solution or something going forward. But definitely update your credentials for anything LastPass, because we don't know if they're out there. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. We all know that you get free shipping on millions of products with Amazon Prime, but you get a whole lot more. Like free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games, and a free Twitch subscription to support the content creator of your choice with Amazon Prime Gaming, plus a whole lot more. We've got links to all of these features and some of our favorites, plus a 30-day free trial, all by going to f5live.tv/prime. One set of content that is rumored to be headed to Amazon Prime Video in the upcoming months is the DC back catalog. DC obviously is under new ownership and new management, particularly DC Studios. Has two new heads, including James Gunn, who has worked on both Marvel and DC projects. The Guardians of the Galaxy over on Marvel is him. The Suicide Squad over on DC is him. And he is kind of the Kevin Feige of DC now. The idea is to have somebody up top who understands what's going on and is intended to make the product better, more appealing, and more connected. So, what does that mean? It means that James Gunn is looking to switch some things up. Going forward, he wants to take inspiration not from his time at Marvel, but instead from another Disney property, Star Wars. Marvel has done a fantastic job of having a storyline and doing things in it, and a continuum. Phase 4 was, I read somebody compared it to an anime throwaway arc, just like a filler. But overall, mostly Marvel things connect. There's one universe in which things happen. But then Sony still has the rights to some of the Marvel properties. Paramount still has the rights to one of them, I think. So if we wanted to include those into the MCU, it requires Sony and or Paramount's permission. Obviously, we know that Sony gave permission for Spider-Man to participate in the DCU in this most recent incarnation, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be that way for everything that they have the rights to. And Spider-Man can exist outside the MCU as well. We know there was the multiverse storyline, the animated film, and there's another one coming. So Spider-Man exists both in and out. As well as some of the official stuff kind of exists inside and out. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., for example, on seemingly different days. Marvel has held different positions on whether it is MCU canon or not, which has made it fascinating. But that is what James Gunn wants to avoid going forward with the DCU. His intention is to follow the Star Wars policy of, if we produce it, it's canon. There are no side quests. There are no disconnected things. This is what it is. And that includes movies, TV shows, video games. All of them will exist in the same universe, and all of them will be canon. That's a big job, Avram, especially with the amount of seemingly disconnected things that already exist that they don't necessarily want to throw away. They want to somehow bring together. That's a pretty big task.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. I don't think it's that much different than is going on in Marvel. I mean, there's a couple of things that are sort of Paramount, I believe, had distribution rights to some of the movies, and they have now, I think they've now sold those. So it's really only Sony with Spider-Man and Spider-Man characters. But anyway, most things in Marvel are, there really isn't anything that's not canon. There's some question about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I guess there's some question about the Netflix shows, although bringing Daredevil into the fold.
Yeah. That's official, by the way.
Yeah, I know it's official because he was. Wait, so does it mean that his previous show took place though, or
yes?
Okay.
Yeah, they've made, from what I understand, they've made that one official, and I guess the series is going to continue under a slightly rebranded name in the future.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have it, and then of course, if you watch She-Hulk, you know he was in She-Hulk.
Yeah.
And I think he was in something else too.
I think so.
But anyway, he was in She-Hulk quite a bit, and with the Daredevil outfit on too. And Kingpin was in was that the Hawkeye show from last year. So so they kind of, I guess we haven't seen whether like Jessica Jones and Iron Fists and Luke Cage will count, but
although I think
certainly Daredevil counts.
I think there's talk about trying to retcon Luke Cage into the MCU. I seem to remember reading that somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the Luke Cage show. I thought it was pretty decent, but
yeah. But as of right now, they don't exist officially. They don't exist within the MCU. They exist within their own separate Marvel thing. And then there was the show about the teenagers.
Oh, you mean the what do you call that? I watched every episode of it too.
Me too.
Who it was? I'm trying to remember, the Runaways.
Yeah,
you took it, the Runaways.
I think that might be it.
Yeah, I don't think that should.
I don't know.
That was called
Yeah,
I don't think that should count.
And that's the point, right? Where there's lines. There are lines. They're not necessarily firm, as we've seen with Daredevil. They're not necessarily firm lines. They're definitely lines close to the tide. But that's one of the things that Gunn wants to avoid. Is this official? Is this canon? If they do something that's not canon, I think if they decide to do something that's not canon, I think they'll make that clear. I think the thing that he's trying to do is to not have the TV shows and the movies be separate, which is one of the things that was a complaint for DC,
Yeah.
and it's something that
Although
Star
the
Wars
TV
has
shows
never
were all
done.
better.
What's that?
Although the DC TV shows were a lot better than the movies.
Agreed.
I mean,
100% agreed.
the quality of the DC TV shows, even from the CW ones to Titans or whatever, so much better. I mean, what they really should do is put Greg Berlanti in charge, because he was the one who did all most of the TV shows, right?
Yeah.
So,
The overseer of
but
the Arrowverse, which
but I think
was unfortunate. I understand it was the first one, but it was an unfortunate naming convention for it.
yeah. But I mean, also wasn't Titans, even though not really in the same universe, also produced by him? I think so.
I think so.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, James Gunn has a really good track record.
True.
They have someone who actually has some creative ability handling this, so I think that was a good move on DC's part.
Yeah.
Um,
Good track record. Somebody who's worked on both sides too. The
yeah.
only person, in fact, to have worked on both sides.
Really didn't. Well, nobody wants to associate with him now, but didn't Joss Whedon work on both sides?
I think. Well, there's certainly that. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think Whedon was involved early on in the MCU.
No, well, Joss Whedon did the Avengers 1 and 2, right? He directed Avengers 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
he
That
also
which was
picked
like
up from Snyder
phase one,
on.
earlier days
Yes.
in. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. But I don't think he was actively involved. Oh, you know what the stat was? He's the only one that has worked on both concurrently. That's what it was.
Yes. Okay.
Because Suicide
Uh,
Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy were happening at the same time. He was producing both. In fact, I think he was
well,
producing two Guardians of the Galaxies and Suicide Squad at the same time. Because I think he was doing the holiday special and Volume 3 while doing Suicide Squad. Because he went over and
oh,
did Suicide Squad with DC because he was fired from Marvel after Volume 2.
right.
And then
Yes.
all the actors said, all right, well, then we're not interested either. Oh, I guess we got to get him back. Nah, I'm busy working for DC right now. Uh-oh.
Well, I'm just waiting for him to make Tromeo and Juliet Part 2. Um, you know where James Gunn got his start, right? He was making trauma movies, including Tromeo and Juliet. Have you seen any of those?
Nope.
Oh man, I used to love their movies. So, like, their Trauma, I don't know if they still exist, with like the B movie studio, and that's where James Gunn actually got his start. Was doing was doing trauma movies, including Romeo and Juliet, which is like a really off the wall, crazy violent comedy. Like, but anyway, yeah. So every time I see him, see his name pop up, I'm like, oh, that's the guy from Romeo and Juliet. He really made good, for making really low budget schlock, which schlock I quite enjoyed too. So no judgment, but yeah. It's the same. I don't understand.
Quite an upgrade, is what you're saying.
Well, and it's probably what he's getting paid at least.
Certainly.
It's sort of like Peter Jackson, right? Like, I was really shocked when Peter Jackson got to direct all these Lord of the Ring movies, because they're like, wait, that's the guy who made Dead Alive, right? Again, you have to have seen it, but very low budget zombie movie. So if you saw Dead Alive, or you saw Meet the Feebles, like some of his early movies, you would not, or Bad Taste, you would not think that this is the person who was going to make like a $1 billion franchise. But goes to show you, if you cut your teeth doing the low budget movies, that's where that's where the talent comes from. James Cameron worked for Roger Corman. So
this
yeah.
list, just as a note for Trauma, this list of people: Carmen Electra, Billy Bob Thornton, Vanna White, Kevin Costner, J.J. Abrams, Samuel L. Jackson, Marissa Tomei.
I mean, some of them didn't get their start there. They were just kind of, I don't know, slumming it or whatever. But
This list specifically says rising talents before they were known.
oh, okay, okay. But
Trey
I used
Parker
to
and Matt Stone.
Oh yes, they did a movie with Trauma.
Cannibal,
I mean, Trauma,
the musical. With an
I don't know
exclamation
if they're
point.
still around, but I was a big fan. I watched so many of their movies. They had so many movies back when I was growing up. All the Toxic Avenger movies, if anyone's heard of that, Trauma.
In 2012, the company officially released many of its films on YouTube.
Dun dun dun. Now I have to wait for my son to be old enough to watch them, because there's still some rather adult stuff in their movies
Sure.
that I can't get away with. I can't get away with showing him yet. I have to have some talks with him about things. But
the description on Wikipedia was very clear about the intense sexual nature of some of the stories.
yes. I don't think I could could show that to him. I mean, never.
Reasonable.
Slowly we're working him up to, I showed him UHF today. Have you seen that?
Many times.
Yeah, I mean, I love that movie, but not a lot of people have never seen it, so I saw it when it was new. So.
Yeah, I've seen it many times. I am a big fan, both of the movie and of Weird Al in general.
Yes. Note to the audience: you should absolutely see the Roku channel Weird Al movie. Scott, I assume you've seen it already.
Yep.
That was really good. One could have a good debate about whether it or UHF is funnier. Kind of different, but
it's still very good.
But nevertheless, like, definitely UHF is more kid friendly. Whereas
sure.
some of the things that Daniel Radcliffe does in the Weird Al movie are
fun piece of information. Weird Al was allowed to take one. Well, wasn't necessarily allowed. What he said was, "I own one prop from the movie." And it's his tombstone. And he put it in his backyard and did not say anything to his wife. And apparently it took her 3.5 weeks to find it.
Oh, no. He must have a big backyard. That's all I can say about that.
I saw him post on Facebook the other day about it. It could have been 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point. I don't know. But
that's hilarious.
He posted, he took a picture. He's like, "This is my backyard, and this is the only prop that I have from the movie." And my wife took 3.5 weeks to find it.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, I wish them luck. I mean, I just hope this doesn't mean canceling more Michael Keaton Batman appearances. It seems to be happening. Because I heard he was also canceled from Aquaman 2. Like, he was supposed to show up in Aquaman. I heard he was supposed to show up in Aquaman 2, and then they got Ben Affleck instead, the Ben Affleck Batman instead. Because, of course, what people really want is more Ben Affleck Batman and less Michael Keaton Batman.
Yes, we're all craving Batfleck.
Yes, that's what I mean. I don't know. I know some people don't like it, but I still think, like, the first Tim Burton Batman movie was really good. I just showed it to my son the other day. He liked it. I was just like, it was better than I remembered.
Mm-hmm.
I remembered liking it, but then I was like, wow, this movie's actually, like, Jack Nicholson is a genius. This is a great movie.
Yes.
Like,
it holds up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not everything holds up, and that one definitely does.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
like any of the movies we just talked about.
Yeah.
James Gunn's associate directorial debut.
I don't know. Romeo and Juliet might still hold up. I'd have to watch
Yeah?
it sometime when my kids aren't around.
Well, I'm gonna find it on YouTube for sure. I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole because of you.
If you're gonna watch one Troma movie, that's the one to watch.
Okay.
Is Romeo and Juliet or Toxic Avenger? But I think overall,
start
as
with
a movie,
James Gunn and work out.
Yeah, I think Romeo and Juliet, Toxic Avenger, very well known, still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of people will like Surf Nazis Must Die, but I don't know about that one. There's anyway. Watch Romeo and Juliet.
I'm in already for sure. We're good. Oh my goodness. Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. We always appreciate it. If you didn't and would like to in the future, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, you can go to f5live.tv/join us. You can chat with us in the studio, or fight the spam bots. Whichever one seems more interesting to you. I've been fighting the spam bots tonight. So, if you can't join us live, that is also okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows. F5 Live, Piltch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, and a whole lot more. And all the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along. Like we said earlier, it's good to be back. The holidays are always nice, but, you know, it's always good to be back together, especially now that Black Friday and Cyber Monday are behind us. So, I guess with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
Sorry. I'm Avram.
And we'll see you back next time. Ciao.